welcome to the B News Planning Board Forum. I'm here with two candidates who are running uncontested, Toni and Natola and Jessica Sutherland. Both were appointed to this board and are now running to become full elected members. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I just want to start with a little bit about your background and what about your experiences makes you suited or excited about being on the planning board. So maybe, Jessica, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my background is pretty much in business. I've been in corporate America for well over a decade now, and I moved to Burlington with my husband and my kids about 5 years ago, but my husband was born and raised in Burlington. And so I've come to know the town for the last probably 16 or 17 years. And with my business background, as well as raising a family here, I really knew that I wanted to figure out how I could use my professional skill sets to really help continue to move the town in the direction it's already been moving, ensure economic stability, as well as just plan for the future. And so with my business experience, mainly in marketing, but I've typically been hired at corporations to kind of do new things or plan for the future. I really felt like my skill set as well as my passion for the town was a good fit for planning board.
Awesome. Toni Ann, what about you?
I'm a lifelong resident of Burlington. I attended all the schools as I went to Fox Hill School, Marshall Simons Middle School, graduated from Burlington High. And I've lived here all my life. I've never left Burlington, so I love Burlington, and I always, want, to me, I would want it to be a place that people would want to come and live here and bring companies to Burlington. So what I would happen was, during COVID, I worked for the Middlesex Probate and Family Court, and we were always in Cambridge. And right before COVID, they moved to Woburn, which now made me available, where I've always been in public service. I love public service, that I was available to now be able to help Burlington with that. I could attend the meetings, and I've always been involved with public service and things of that nature, trying to volunteer. I've worked directly for the Register of Probate, so I had always had an interest in it. So I'm an assistant register and an MUPC magistrate at the Middlesex Probate and Family Court. With my legal background, I was able to be able to bring my skill set to the planning board and try to see if I could help assist the board in the best way possible.
Yeah. So the planning board works on permitting for lots of different kinds of things, which means the work has implications for lots of different parts of life in Burlington, whether that's housing or economic development or land use or taxes. Is there a specific part of that that is particularly interesting or attractive to you, and why? Toni Ann, maybe we'll start with you this time.
Well, I'm also sitting on the Housing Partnership Board, so the housing part of that is very interesting to me, and I'd like to see us bring a lot more senior housing to town. They're talking, we're trying to get some areas to, we're trying to be on the MBTA community bus line for people, so if we could bring some housing that way, people could be on the bus lines, and it would be easier for people that don't have cars to be able to get to work and do things of that nature. So we've been working a lot on that, and I enjoy sitting on the Partnership Housing Committee.
So there's some overlap there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, Jessica, what about you?
For me, I think it's really the sum of all parts. I mean, one area impacts another. Housing impacts taxes, and businesses impacts taxes, and taxes impacts housing and school systems. So for me, it's how they all impact each other. But I think in particular, again, with my business background, I have a pretty deep passion for how we're going to continue to draw in businesses and ones that are sustainable. So I'm on the Economic Development Committee, and with that, they've been doing a lot of great work, and not only helping to attract people to the town, but bring people together within the town. And I think more opportunity for people to do things in the town, the more likely to stay. And obviously we all like to see our real estate value go up.
That's right.
But at the same time, you know, we want to also make it so that people can enter the town and we can continue to draw families. So again, I think it's how that all works together between the residents as well as the businesses.
Yeah, so let's dig into one example, maybe a little bit deeper, of the developments that are happening now. I feel like the Mall Road is probably maybe the biggest,
Yes.
sort of the most high profile project. What are your hopes for that development, and maybe what are some concerns that you have as well, if any?
Well, we got a great one coming.
Yeah, so I think, you know, right now Melissa is working with Provets, where
Melissa Tentacoli
Yep.
in that, yep.
where we, you know, they've hired a great consulting company to really develop a forward-looking plan for the Mall Road corridor. I think for me personally, what I love to see is just the continued evolution there. So obviously, with COVID, a lot of people have chosen to work from home. A lot of what has drawn people to this town is the office space, and you know, it's no secret that not just in Burlington, but in Boston, in other states, you know, there is the concern of, well, what's going to happen to the office space? So I think in particular for that development, what I'd love to see is continued evolution towards multi-use. How do we not only make sure that we're planning and maintaining what current businesses are doing there, but how do we draw more medical purposes as well as some housing purposes? And again, I think the biggest thing that a lot of residents are looking for in this town is connectability. So how is there better spaces for walking, for interacting, getting from one place to another? So it's a tall order for that area. And then in particular for the mall, obviously we're trying to make sure that we're planning for what's the next step for the mall. What does that look like? And I think there are a lot of great plans in the works. Trying to bring a lot more green space to the mall, again, trying to connect different parts of the town, as well as just allow for more interaction for residents.
Toni Ann, thoughts on the Mall Road? Anything else you want to add?
I was thinking sort of the New England Executive Park. They're making that right now. If they, you know, do the do-over and make it more accessible for walking, and like you said, green space to connect to the mall and to that whole Leahy area, and make it all safe. You know, they want it to be desirable but also safe. So it looks like the plans that are going forward look really, really nice for the town of Burlington. People, I think it would draw a lot of people to want to come to Burlington as well.
So maybe we can talk about another example. I think this one maybe is a little less on people's minds right now, but I feel like Town Center is its own interesting
Big
development project or question about what that should look like. Because if I understand correctly, and you guys might have a better handle on this, I believe there's like a zoning overlay, right, where there's the goal was to have mixed use residential shops, like sort of mom and pop shop stuff going on there. And it wasn't really clear if that was successful when that was created. I'm really curious if you guys have thoughts or visions for what Town Center could be.
Do you want me to?
Sure, go for it.
Well, the town center, we are looking to do that whole area to make it a lot more desirable for people to want to live in that area, make it easy to walk in the area. If it was any type of senior type of people, make it all accessible all the way around, as far as there's a supermarket, there's you know, if they had something wrong, they could go to the urgent care, as well as we have one of the best things coming to town in that area, which is going to be what is Good Night Johnny's is coming to town, and that's really going to be they have nothing on that side of Burlington that has live entertainment. It's a family restaurant. It's not a high-end steak place. It sounds like it's going to be a great family restaurant, and also a good place for people to go if you wanted to hear a little bit of jazz or country or something. It sounded like really nice restaurant coming to town, and I think they are going to be doing that whole area over, and I would like myself to see that become like, make it easy, accessible walking for people in the area, to make it safe and do all that. I think it's going to look nice. They are forming that committee as well, so that we can do that.
That's great. Anything else, Jessica?
No, I think the shops at Simon's was definitely a really big, great addition that's allowing for a variety of tenants. You have the vet there, we have the Goodnight Johnny's is coming in, there's a daycare there, which is really great. And I think a big step that has been in the master plan for a while and the committees are continuing to move towards is making sure that also the look and feel is consistent. So there's a sign committee in terms of how do we make sure everything looks consistent, cohesive in terms of where we want the town to go and look. And there's a lot of great work being done there.
Awesome. All right, so this one, Burlington has been thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in town governance for a while. And I believe the two of you were on the planning board when the planning board met with that commission in town government, when that was in effect. I would really love to hear from you guys what you thought of that conversation, and maybe more broadly, to what extent you see a role for diversity, equity, and inclusion within the work of the planning board.
Yeah.
I know it's a big question. Jessica, do you want to give it a stab?
Sure. I mean, coming from corporate America, it obviously has also been a really big initiative and something that I've taken part in very consistently in my professional life, and it's something that I believe is very important, not just for the planning board, but I think just for general education. And the planning board did participate in it. It's a great conversation. It's really important to have, I think, those professional point of views and have those honest and open conversations in terms of how we evolve our thinking. And it's something that I know the select board right now is trying to revisit in terms of what is the best plan for ensuring DEI training within the government. And as soon as the select board is able to decide on that, it's something the planning board very much plans to participate in.
I think also the same way that we should evolve and have somebody that ends up, I don't know if they end up appointing somebody, but I think everybody should feel welcome, and we should make sure that that conversation stays open. And I think even in my professional life right now, it's a big conversation, and that everybody should be open to, if we could make something better, let's try. Let's do it, and we're all for that. So I hope they end up filling that position, and the conversation gets bigger.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a couple of specifics, and I want to zoom back out, if you would zoom back out with me. Big picture, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what's the vision for Burlington?
That's a really good question. I think the town has been slowly making steps towards, what is the next industry that we need to make sure we are zoned for and poised for and capable of welcoming into the town, because obviously a big draw of people to this town has been the low taxes, and that's thanks to the mall and other businesses and restaurants paying really the taxes and keeping it low. So how do we continue to promote the economic viability is the big question. I think, as we all know, retail is evolving. So I think the design of the mall road corridor, as well as welcoming more medical uses, will continue to evolve. The planning board has done a lot of work in converting to life sciences. So I think that's in the immediate future.
Stay innovative. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So continuing to stay ahead of where the industries are, as well as making sure that we have delicate balance of residential space. I know everyone right now jokes, if you can find a plot of land, you probably find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But it's continuing to make sure that with the various changes in the town, that we still keep residents and use for residents top of mind. So I would love to see continued building in terms of different uses for businesses, not just the standard office park, but things like life sciences, and just more fun family stuff. I mean, the recreation department does an awesome job with a lot of programs for families, so just continuing to build on that. We have a lot of great parks and playgrounds. I have 3 young children, so one of them a little baby, so she doesn't quite use the parks and playgrounds yet, but I think it's one of my favorite parts about this town is, yes, we have a lot of viability in terms of businesses, but there's a lot of work that's been done to welcome families, and I'd love to continue to see that.
I'd like to see them bring some performing arts center or a theater to town. It would draw people in, but it also, that's the one thing I don't think Burlington has. Like, you know, Arlington has the Regent Theater, let's say Medford has the Chevalier Theater, that they can do different things. We don't have that here right now. Mm-hmm. I would love to see that long term come to town. You know, I would like, I would like to see long term that we preserve, though, the areas of Burlington that the commercial part stays commercial, and you know, the residential part stays residential, so that we don't lose that. I remember growing up in a certain type of neighborhood, and I still look around, although they've put in huge houses. I almost wish they started building, if they are going to build, some normal size houses, you know, also. Not just a 1.8 million house that's on a street that has, you know, an average ranch, you know, going up there knocking down all the small houses and putting up all these huge homes, which are beautiful. But I would like to try to preserve a little bit of the average home in Burlington myself.
I know it's also a dream of a lot of people. Not a dream, it'll happen, just a matter of when, but the connection of the Minuteman bike path. So
That's
again,
right.
I think
we would love
a lot more
that.
connections with bordering towns.
That's right.
And
we have a lot of beautiful things in Burlington, but there's a few things that could be added that are dreams, but we see it happening, but it's just more down the road.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. All right. Well, Toni and Natola, Jessica Sutherland, thank you very much for taking a couple minutes. You've been watching the B News Planning Board Forum. Thank you for watching.